Hello and good morning. It's birthday day today. Um, Today I am 38 years old. So happy birthday to me. Um, I got these this morning. Some nice new fancy slippers. I've been complaining about my old ones for a while now, and so Angie decided that it was time to swap those out. When I would walk around, they would slip off my feet and I'd trip on them. So took care of that. Um, Energy levels are okay, about the same as they were yesterday. Slept alright and feeling good about things. I had a good day at therapy yesterday. I spent an hour with the therapist talking about the list of things that we talked about the last time. Some of the notes, we both hate Zoom. I'm not a big fan of using Zoom. I much prefer it in person, and she said the same thing, which made me laugh. Um, we talked a little bit about playing Jenga with your addictions, and how the things that we do for leisure, if you have an addictive personality or a tendency towards addictiveness to things, which I do, those activities can swap out. Like you pull one out, and then like the supporting structure of Jenga, right? So you pull a middle thing out, and now it's supported on the two blocks. What your addictions end up, they just end up sort of changing, or they can end up changing, and it's the behavior, the addictive behavior, that becomes an issue. Which actually ties in with what John was saying when it comes to addiction, is that it's not always just the internal mechanism of a substance that makes it addictive, but there's also other aspects, social pressures and internal monologues and sort of history with substances and that sort of, and how you were raised. Like I watched my dad drink beer pretty much all day, slowly, but still he would drink beer from lunchtime onwards, sometimes before lunchtime, and so for me that was observed behavior and normal. But getting into those other addictions can draw away from relationships just as much as the video games or the marijuana ever did. So I need to be careful that I don't swap out video gaming and marijuana use for something else. And I have been. I told her that I was enjoying to drink, and that I was joking with Angie that I was going to be an alcoholic now, even though I don't really drink during the week at all, and the weekends it's maybe one or two cans ish, even, and sometimes not even then. Um, but there's other areas that attach to addictive behaviors, things like impulsivity, and procrastination and laziness and sort of a demotivating effects that come along with those addictive behaviors, or those things that you turn into another addiction. And at the end of the talk, we were talking about how it's good to stay focused on the smaller issues, the smaller challenges, and I said that's been how I've been practicing a lot of things in my life recently, particularly politics and stuff like that. Is not reaching out and trying to spread my message or trying to influence other people's thinking, but examining the way that I think and making sure that the way that I think is on solid ground, and then moving forward. Another example of this is whenever because I have my associates now, and I've been thinking about going to get my bachelor's, but I already have the associate professional in human resources certification in front of me, and I have paying down the debt and and managing what I'm doing with refereeing and quitting marijuana and video games has been an activity. It's been an activity to do that. So whenever it comes up in my mind, I'm always aware of the fact that it's not time yet. It's not time for me to go back to school just yet, as much as I'd like to. There's other things in my life that require my attention, my immediate attention, and when the time comes, then I can unpack that and start looking at it. But for right now, it's too big of an issue, and thinking on it or wasting energy planning it doesn't make any sense. And so I've been able to put it away because it's stressful. It's stressful thinking about where I'm going to go to school now that I don't want to have to do my language studies. I can't transfer into OSU. And I'm just really so not interested in picking up Spanish again to try to get that last class done. So I have to look for other schools, and I'm hearing it now while I'm talking. It's like it is a stressful thing to think about. But again, I don't have to worry about it, so I just put it in the back of my mind and it's done. And I've noticed that that's what my friends tend to do, is take a small problem, or take a problem that has a smaller, focused solution that may be uncomfortable, or may be difficult to roll out, but it's a solution to a small problem that would help a small part of life, and that like fixing that small part of the problem spreads wellness to this area, and then you can fix this area, and then that spreads wellness, and you grow your wellness outwards slowly. What they tend to do is they tend to see a problem, a small, locally focused small problem, and then to absolve themselves of the responsibility of having to take care of that small problem, they attach it to something big that can't easily be solved, but it can be easily complained about and pointed to as the problem, right? So an example of this might be, like my friend was talking to me about his depression, and my experience of depression is that lifestyle and behavior and language and food and drink, food and water, are the ways that you can help modulate or regulate depression. You can go from up, down, manic, to something a little more stable just by changing the behaviors that you exhibit and the things that you say and what you eat and what you drink and how you choose to exercise, things like sleep or exercise even, things like that. It's not necessarily that drugs don't do a good job of helping, but if you manage your lifestyle better, you can manage depression better. And it never goes away, but you can handle it better. And I was thinking in my head, I was thinking, and I didn't say it out loud because I'm trying to get away from pushing, but I was thinking in my head, like lifestyle changes are the best way to fix that problem when depression starts to become an issue. And this person sort of tied it to other things, to bigger things that were outside of their control, and tied it to, a difficulty with medication or, other problems within their life, and they sort of attached all these balloons to this thing, and then this thing just went off into the distance, and it was existing, still there, still a problem, but now out of reach because it's attached to all these other larger life concerns or concerns, and doing that is kind of the key to a lot of people's problems where they don't see like there's a way to fix the problem. And I've noticed that I used to do that a lot, but since I've started to make my own life my focus and my own behaviors and focusing on the small things that I can change, I've found that it's like when you look at a car and let's say you've got a flat tire. You don't look at the car with the flat tire and go, my car's fucked. You say, the tire's fucked and I need to change the tire. So you change the tire, and then the car goes back to being perfectly functional. But if you focus on the car and how it's not functional and how the flat tire is causing the car to not be functional, and it was because there was a pothole in the road and you ran over the pothole and it caused a flat tire, you don't change your problem. You don't fix any of it. You don't make a solution, and you don't fix the situation at all. You don't make any progress towards change. And B, you make it more difficult for yourself to identify and plan how to fix the problem. And I think that's what I see people around me do a lot. Is there's a small problem, and I think this goes across the whole of society. I think this is a way of thinking that's been introduced by hand-wringers and bleeding hearts, where they identify a problem and then they attach it to something that's too big to be solved, so that they can absolve themselves of having to do anything about it, or take a position that's uncomfortable. An example of this would be if someone gets shot by the police. Very few people are asking the question, except for everyday people. You never see it in the news media or on Twitter or even really in the mainstream parts of Reddit. Why was this person shot by the police? Was it police brutality, or was it this person was making bad decisions and they put themselves in that situation, and the chances of them being shot in this situation were astronomically higher because they were committing a crime or resisting arrest or whatever. And I think you look at that situation, and like with the car, there's a way to solve it. Don't break the law. Don't get caught. Don't resist arrest. Like, there's a whole bunch of behaviors that you could adopt that would reduce your chances of being shot and would fix the situation in a small way. At the very least, improve your chances of not getting shot. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but the times that it does happen are minuscule, like less than minuscule. Grain of sand on a beach over all of the interactions that people have with police. And again, this is just an example. But people don't. What they do is they take that little problem that could be solved with just a little bit of behavioral adjustment, and they attach a string to it, and they attach that to a big balloon, the balloon of racism or police brutality or authoritarian state or whatever it is that their cause is, their big thing. And then that problem floats up and away. And they don't have to take the position, the hard position, which is that person should be responsible for their actions. And everyone should be responsible for their actions. In fact, and I'm going to say this now, since I've moved here, New Zealanders tend to they point the finger a little bit. I think it's inherent in Western culture to blame others a little bit. I think that's a faultiness of the liberal system, to see yourself as above scrutiny. And I don't mean liberal in a political sense. I mean liberal in a, every individual is right, or every individual has sovereignty. But in America, the pointing the blame at everyone else is like, it's a fucking epidemic. It is endemic to American society. It's a real problem, and it's everywhere. And I see it when I'm driving. And I think that's where that comes from, this notion of blaming everyone else for your problems. When I'm driving, someone cuts you off, and you end up in behind them, and you wave your hands at them, and then they flip you off. Or you get someone doesn't see you when they make a turn, and they look over, or they don't look over, and you look and see them trying to get into your lane, and they're about to hit you, and you honk your horn, and then they flip you off like you did something wrong, because they don't want to accept blame themselves. And I think that runs in the society where people don't want to take personal responsibility, and as a result they attach their problems to balloons, and those balloons just float off into the distance, and they go, see, I can't do anything about that. We can't fix that. It's a huge problem. And then that's how they end up turning issues like racism and police brutality and sexism and all these other phobias, these things that we're told that we are. It's how they turn all of those things into huge issues, and zombies. They turn them into zombies. They resurrect these stupid ideas, attach a small event to something that has a big cultural implication, and then watch it float off into the distance and go, oh, I can't do anything about it. But society's the problem, not the individual. And yeah, that's been my observation. So anyway, getting back to my birthday post, happy today. I'm feeling a little bit better after having got that off my system. But it was a good time to talk at the therapist. Like I said, she really did remind me and recommend sticking with that method of identifying the small things that are going wrong in life, and rather than turning them into big issues, just keep focusing on them being a small thing, fix that one thing, and then focus on the next one thing and the next one thing, rather than attaching everything to a bigger, out of control system that you can't do anything with. Anywho, that's it for me. Ka kite.